homecoming, okay? About a little retriever fever. I gotta do this, okay? Sorry, I gotta do this. Perfect setup. Thank you, Stanielle. Group one. Group two. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, it's all right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, good evening, and thank you for coming. My name is Ken Kidman, and I'm president of the board of directors of the Alumni Association. And we're so thrilled to have you join us tonight. Thank you so much for coming. My colleagues and I see a lot of my colleagues from the association and on the board represent, can you believe it, 70,000 alumni. Give or take a couple. Maybe we round it up a little bit, but 70,000. I'm from class of 80, would never have imagined 70,000 alumni coming through the campus. But did you feel it when you stepped on the campus? And everything just lifted up a little bit? I'm so impressed with the caliber of people on this campus. I can just feel it when I get here. And we have tremendously talented people tonight. So thank you very much for joining us as well. The awards that we bestowed tonight, presented by the UMBC Alumni Association in coordination with the Office of Institutional Advancement and with the support of the UMBC community. The nomination and selection process is a year-round endeavor managed by the Alumni Association Board of Directors Awards Committee. And I'd like to acknowledge Irina Vishnevetsky, our Alumni Awards Committee Chair, who will speak a little later in the program and introduce our award winners. Please join me in thanking Irina for all of her hard work and the commitment. I'd like to recognize our past recipients of the Alumni Association Awards that are with us tonight as well. So if you are a past recipient, would you please stand? Don't be bashful. There you go. And in addition, I'd like to acknowledge our generous sponsors of this evening. And, you know, I kid around a little bit. You can probably tell that I like to have a little bit of fun. Of course, at my age, if you're not having fun, then you know, shame on you. But one of the most important things that we do in the Alumni Association is provide scholarships to UMBC students. So I want to recognize and thank our sponsors for the event this evening. Our True Grit sponsor is the UMBC Training Center. And that's the 4th year in a row for that sponsorship. Is anyone from the UMBC Training Center here tonight? Excellent. Thank you very much. Our black and gold sponsors are Kara Freeman Lee. Kara. Thank you. Bennett and Diane Moe. I know you're here. Fearless Solutions, Delilah, are you here? Past Alumni Awards recipient as well. So thank you very much. Retriever sponsors are the Calvo family. Brian Cuffey. Brian, where are you? Crystal and Nicholas Johansson. Dr. Tamara Lewis. Thank you. So please give a round of applause for all of our event sponsors and donors. I want to take a minute and just share with you some of our alumni sponsorship scholarships. Sarah Bach. Is Sarah here by chance? Sarah hopes to go on to dental school after graduation and touch the lives of patients by educating them about the importance of oral care. During her time on campus, Sarah participated in the Global Brigades, a service program in Panama that served over 1,000 patients in a hybrid medical dental clinic set up by the volunteers. Elaine Chen, Elaine, are you here? Elaine has become, in her time at UMBC, more knowledgeable in the domains of psychology, inspiring her to pursue a degree in applied behavior analysis. Her hope is to help individuals with learning disabilities and conduct studies that will improve students' learning acquisition. Michael Carango hopes to graduate from UMBC with magna cum laude honors and pursue a master's degree in cybersecurity. He also hopes to initiate and mentor entrepreneurial programs for youth in order to motivate them to start their own enterprises. Jesse Waterman, throughout Jesse's career here, he worked full-time in various jobs, and after graduation, he'd like to work with an agency dealing with the mental health of Native American and immigrant populations. And finally, Maura Smith. Is Maura here tonight? Maura is a health administration and public policy and political science double major with an information systems minor, on track to complete the accelerated Master of Public Policy. After graduation, she'd like to utilize her UMBC education and apply it as a writer for a think tank or policy lobbyist for a hospital. Truly remarkable people. And I'm delighted that we've been able to provide a scholarship for each of them. So please thank, and I know there's only a few of them here tonight, but if you have a chance later this evening, please congratulate our scholarship recipients. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce President Freeman Hrabowski to make some welcoming remarks.
Welcome tonight. We're delighted that you're here. This is an incredible evening. We want to congratulate all of our alumni recipients. This is a special time to recognize people who have graduated, who have done so well. The university is doing so well. Just 3 or 4 statistics, and we can talk tonight later. We are on the list of the most innovative places in the country. The list had number 1, Arizona State, number 2, MIT, number 3, Stanford, number 4, UMBC. Give us a big hand. And in the best undergrad teaching in America, it had Princeton, some other place, and it got to number 6. And ahead of Stanford, ahead of Brown, it had 2 places. One place cost $65,000 named Yale University. The other place was UMBC. Give us a big hand. The idea of a university that's under 50 years old being tied with an institution that was founded in the 1700s and being called best in class speaks volumes about the quality of not only the faculty here and staff, but of what our students do. This year, our commencement speakers are amazing. And just one example, I won't mention the other because we have to get it approved, but one example for undergraduates will be the president of Harvard, Drew Faust. I mean, because she just has that kind of respect. When I was there for their commencement, she said, the oldest salutes the youngest, because we send so many students there from science to medicine to law. And so you can be very proud of the fact that our students are doing well. You are doing so well. You will see the construction. You walk around campus, and whether you graduated in the 70s, 80s, or 90s, Even if you graduated in the last 15 years, you may find yourself trying to figure out where you are on this list. Don't feel old, just feel vintage. I will give you, and so we've had, when we get this next, we just finished the entrance to the campus. If you go look at that, you'll see this lovely pond area out here. When you go out, you'll see that. You'll see the new Arts and Humanities building. Getting ready to put up a new life sciences, interdisciplinary life sciences building, a new event center. We'll finally be bringing commencement back to campus, which will be really nice, a big deal. You all do know we're getting a football team, right? Just kidding, just kidding. Just kidding. However, we were in the Final Four in soccer this past year. Final Four in game development. Microsoft flew us to San Francisco. Big deal for that too. And in the kinetic race, we made it to the Final Four. Big deal, huge deal. I mean, it's amazing. So we're doing really well in all those things. But I want you to just walk around campus, get a sense. Literally, when we get these next two buildings up, since about 2000, we've had $750 million in construction. And yet, that doesn't begin to tell the story of UMBC. The story comes with the people, the faculty, staff, the students, and the alumni, and just how well you're doing. That's the story. You are UMBC. So from the head of APL at Hopkins, who's a UMBC graduate, to the president of Clemson, who's a UMBC graduate, to people all over the place. You'll see us wherever you go. Welcome to UMBC. Thank you all.
Well, I have to say that being led by such a man makes achievement from all of us simply unacceptable. Thank you, Dr. Romowski. We find it incredibly exciting to be here and see all the success of the UMBC faculty, staff, and students. My name is Irina Vishnevetsky, and I am a member of the Alumni Board of Directors and chair of the Alumni Awards Committee. Our committee worked very hard as we assessed the amazing nominations that were submitted. It was a difficult process, but one that instilled pride in the work and all of our distinguished alumni. I'd like the committee members to stand as I call their names, and I ask that you hold your applause until they have all risen. Bennett Moe, immediate past president of the Alumni Board. John Becker, vice president of operations for the board. Alumni board member Kara Freeman, Kevin Mulrow, Dr. Crystal Watkins Johansson. Please note that all the physical awards will be distributed to the award winners at the conclusion of the program. Our first award is our Distinguished Service Award, presented to the Honorable Alan Kittleman. A 1981 political science major, he was nominated by Carol Myers, class of 1972. Ms. Myers will provide introductory remarks.
Thank you, Irina. As Irina said, my name is Carol Myers, and I am a member of the class of 1972 and a recent retiree from UMBC. It is a great honor to introduce this year's Distinguished Alumni of the Year, the Honorable Alan Kittleman. I've known Alan, his wife Robin, and their family for many years. This year's award recognizes what many Howard County residents and statewide citizens have long known about Alan and his commitment to civil rights and equality for all. My biggest challenge tonight is keeping the list of his accomplishments to the time I was allocated. Public service is something that describes Alan's life. Whether it was his role as a youth counselor with Young Life or his first election to the Howard County Council in 1998, Alan has long been a leader and role model for those around him. His father, the late Senator Robert Kittleman, spent 19 years in the Maryland House of Delegates and 3 as a Maryland State Senator until his passing in 2004. Alan learned from his father the importance of making decisions that may be unpopular, but ultimately were for the greater good. Alan was appointed to his father's Senate seat in 2004 and held it until his election last year as the Howard County Executive. Alan's tenure as a Maryland State Senator had numerous accomplishments, which included his becoming the Senate Minority Leader in 2011. It was at this time that he began the push for one of the most controversial and divisive issues facing Marylanders, civil unions. Alan stood as the only Republican in the state legislature supporting this initiative, and in 2012, after being the only Republican in the Senate to support the legislation, his work with fellow Republicans in the House of Delegates saw this bill supported by only 2 Republicans and passed by the House of Delegates by 2 votes. As Howard County Executive, Alan is especially proud of his UMBC degree and the opportunity to work with UMBC's Columbia-based training center. As he pointed out to me, being as close to campus as Howard County is allows for even greater opportunities for such partnerships. I could go on at length about Alan's love for Howard County, its citizens, his farm, and most importantly, his family. But Alan is a far more interesting speaker than I, and I'll let you hear from him. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and Carol, thank you for the nomination. I appreciate that. Certainly not deserved, especially if you ever saw my GPA. Now, we were joking about it earlier, President. There's no way I would have gotten UMBC today. No way. But UMBC was a fantastic school for me. It was exactly what I needed. I wanted to be home. I was working in a group called Young Life at the time, so I needed a place close by, and I was a commuter. But UMBC provided me that opportunity to be able to be at school in 20 minutes, but also be able to get to other things I had to get to. But it really was, when I was coming here, the UMBC, I heard someone ask what it stood for. When I was here, it stood for You Must Be Crazy. And now it stands for You Must Be Crazy if you don't come here. Because that's exactly the way it is. I mean, UMBC, as you've already heard, is such a tremendous institution. And I also want to make sure I thank the Alumni Association for considering me and honoring me. It's crazy when you hear the word honorable. It's like, just because you won an election. Come on, it just means I got more votes. But I will tell you, I was raised by a tremendous gentleman who taught me a lot about civil rights. And I remember during the campaign, I actually came and President Urbowski was very kind. We sat together for about an hour. And we talked about my dad and talked about the history. And I think that UMBC helped me tremendously because I had this tremendous role model. But I also came to UMBC and I was a pre-law political science major. And I had professors like Harold Levy, comparative politics, and Dr. George Lanou and others who helped me to kind of stretch it out even more. In comparative politics, I think, is what kind of helps me understand that, there's more than one side to a story. And there's more to understanding about where people are than just, hey, this is what I think is right. And with my dad's background, my time at UMBC, I was able to maybe have that kind of a foundation, which I think helped me tremendously in my political career. But I also will tell you that UMBC was great also for meeting people. And what I did an awful lot, and I told Carol I was going to say this, I spent an awful lot of time playing intramural basketball. I see Jack back there. Jack Snoots and I played against each other a lot in basketball. I played for Little Feet at the time. But I tell you, I met most of my friends at UMBC by playing basketball. And I will tell you, I did that after that as well. When I got to the Maryland State Senate, we played basketball on Thursday night. I met most of my good friends at the Maryland State Senate by playing basketball. And, you need to figure out ways to meet people and to communicate with people beyond the politics. If you don't, then you're going to lose sight of everything. And so UMBC helped me with that background to be able to really, hopefully, be able to look at what's best for the citizens and not just what's best for me. And that's kind of, with marriage equality, I know a lot of people in my party got frustrated with me on that issue, but I really believed in it. I believed in it so much that I resigned as minority leader because it was such an issue, and I thought that this was the civil rights issue of my generation. My dad, you talked a little bit about my dad, just that you guys know the background he was a little bit. My dad was the first white person to join the Howard County NAACP back in the early 1960s, and he actually to this day is still the only white person to be president of that chapter. And he was the education chair during the desegregation movement. And he worked very closely with a lot of folks. If anyone here from Howard County, they know people like Silas Craft and Reverend John Holland. But anyway, so you have that kind of a role model. He's like, gosh, And so when I was, the issue of marriage equality came up, was like, gosh, of course I'm going to support that. And I tried to figure out ways which I could try to get some of my Republican colleagues to come with me. It wasn't very easy. And again, in 2011, I was the only Republican to support it. In 2012, I was able to convince a couple of Republican delegates, which was very crucial because it won by 2 votes in the House. But I think that's what we all need to do. We need to do what we think is right. We were talking, I think I was talking to Judge Wag about this earlier, about, if you want to run for office, the best thing you can do is just do the right thing. Don't worry about making your base happy. Don't worry about figuring out what issue is going to make them. Don't go like this and say, oh my gosh, here's where I got to go. Just do the right thing. And then you can look yourself in the mirror. You can, keep your head up high. And if you lose, you lose. But what's more important is doing the right thing. And I think UMBC gave me a good background for that. So thank you, President Hrabowski, for making my diploma look even better. Hey, we all agree. Come on, we all know it. We all know it. You're all going, there's no question. People tell me now, you went to UMBC. My gosh, you must be smart. But I appreciate the Alumni Association for all you're doing to continue to make that happen. And I appreciate the award. Thank you very much.
Our next award will be presented to Ms. Nicole DeBlaise, a financial economics major who graduated in 2006, this year's Rising Star. Ms. DeBlaise was nominated by Dr. David Mitch, professor and chair in the Department of Economics. Dr. Mitch will introduce Nicole.
So I'm delighted to be able to make this award tonight. Although less than 10 years out from completing her bachelor's degree at UMBC, Nicole has already established herself as a recognized and very successful stock and investment analyst. Nicole earned her Bachelor's of Science in Financial Economics in 2006, and her degree was awarded cum laude despite graduating from UMBC in just 3 years. And as she told us tonight, earlier tonight to some of her undergraduates, she was involved in a lot of activities outside of the classroom. Among other things, she was a DJ for Umbc, is that the, among other things. And she was also able, through the Shriver Center, to obtain 2 separate internships, one with General Electric and the other with Mercantile Safety Deposit Box. On graduating from UMBC, she was employed by PNC Advisors here in Baltimore as an associate analyst. There she was involved with pitching investment ideas to portfolio managers, researching companies in the industrial, consumer, and technology sectors, and with assisting integration between the merger of PNC Bank and Mercantile Bank and Trust. As I also found earlier tonight, her real life goal wasn't getting rich, but basically she was looking for a way to make it to New York City. At the age of 16, she thought about doing that by becoming a dancer on Broadway. She moved away from that, but she was successful, and between 2007 and 11, she was employed by Deutsche Bank Securities in New York City. As you will recall, this was not exactly an uneventful period in the financial sector at that time, but she was successful in this work, and with Deutsche Bank she served as research associate and then vice president for equity research. Since 2011, Nicole has worked for Morgan Stanley in New York City as vice president, equity research, and executive director, U.S. Machinery Equity Research. Now, she told us she tried earlier to make it to Morgan Stanley with an internship, and she didn't do well in an interview that time around, but she emphasized the importance of determination, and she made it sort of through more indirect route with Morgan Stanley. And note one of her specialties is U.S. machinery equity research. Among other things, among other skills she had to develop as a woman was being able to drive an 18-wheeler to really get firsthand experience in that sort of industry. So there's lots of unexpected experiences one gets in this area. So her expertise in the machinery industry has been made use of by Barron's, among others, in assessing investment process for John Deere, the tractor and farm equipment manufacturer, where she gets some of these experiences. Now, as I've already suggested, financial economics majors at UMBC and successful Wall Street analysts do have interest beyond Wall Street and the world of finance. Despite being at UMBC for just 3 years, Nicole minored in dance with a strong preference for both jazz and ballet, along with her financial economics major. And she now spends what limited free time she has. She told us about her long days earlier today, starting at 7:30 in the morning, getting to work, but she still finds time for running and indoor cycling classes, and has gotten caught up in the Soul Cycle craze that has taken New York City by storm. And she also considers a major benefit of her job the travel she has to do in conjunction with her work. So she was in China just a few weeks ago, and soon is going to be headed to visit 6 countries in Europe. So I'm very pleased she was able to find the time to be with us tonight. So,
thank you so much, Dr. Mitch. I really appreciate your support, and to the Alumni Association for the recognition. It's really amazing to be here. Speaking in front of this many people is a little bit scary when I'm not actually pitching a stock. So if anyone wants to talk about stock ideas afterwards, you know who to come to. And it's really exciting to be back on campus. Dr. Rabowski, you talked about all of the changes that have taken place. A lot has changed, and it's hard to find my way around, but for me, the biggest enhancement was the Starbucks, and I really wish we had had that. And with Chick-fil-A, the freshman 15 would have been the freshman 25. So I'm actually kind of thankful we didn't have that. Okay, so now on to the script. I did actually write down things that I wanted to say. Dr. Mitch alluded to the fact that my career at Morgan Stanley actually started with a pretty big failure. So worst interview of all time when I was interviewing for my internship at Morgan Stanley and actually got rejected. So I gave up on my New York dream for a little while and ended up working in Baltimore until I was ready to move to New York about a year after that. It was a really, really interesting time to be on Wall Street. For reference, I started at Deutsche Bank, which is at 60 Wall, so I was properly working on Wall Street in 2007, mid-2007. So about 9 months later, Bear Stearns was bought by JP Morgan. 3 months after that, Lehman Brothers was rescued from bankruptcy by Barclays. And then the rumor was Morgan Stanley was kind of the next firm to go. So it was a kind of scary and really interesting time to be on Wall Street. And I would also say that my journey to Wall Street was not an easy one. Not your typical Wall Street person. First of all, I'm a woman. It's a very male-dominated industry. I went to a non-finance school, Princeton and Yale, forget about them. UMBC is where it's at. But I think what I really learned here was I actually achieved a lot of my passion to pursue finance at UMBC. So I remember in particular going to Dr. Carroll's class, and it was a class on industry organization and reflecting upon where I developed my desire to become a research analyst. The first moment that I really realized that I enjoyed looking at companies and industries was in her class, where we focused on industry structure. So it was really great to develop that passion in her class. And then I would also say that Wall Street's a really competitive place to work. I'm with some of the best and the brightest, and it's really inspirational. But it's great to say that I'm from UMBC. I didn't come from a traditional path, and I'm competing with all of those University of Penn graduates and really big finance schools. And there's no problem whatsoever. The econ program here got me ready for a career on Wall Street. So I'm a big advocate for non-traditional paths, and I'm actually part of the recruiting program in research and push for that a lot. So in conclusion, I have to say thank you to a lot of people. The Alumni Association, I mentioned, thanks to UMBC. It was a really great experience here. Thank you to Dr. Mitch for nominating me. Thank you to Dr. Rabowski for creating this fantastic university, or prolonging and making this place even better, to the entire economics department, and my mom and my sister are in the audience, and I couldn't have done anything in my life without their support. So, thanks.
Our next award will be presented to our Outstanding Faculty of the Year, Dr. Tara Carpenter, a senior lecturer in chemistry and biochemistry. She was nominated by Andy Gotch, class of 2012. Mr. Gotch will introduce Dr. Carpenter.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Before I begin, I'd like to wish my beautiful wife a happy birthday. And for allowing me to come here. It is my distinct honor to be presenting the Outstanding Faculty Award this evening. The UMBC community is no stranger to the term outstanding faculty. as UMBC has been ranked as the number 6 university in the nation for undergraduate teaching by U.S. News and World Report. To put this into perspective, UMBC outperformed the universities of Yale, Stanford, Vanderbilt, and Duke. The faculty member who I'll be introducing shortly interacts with more undergraduate students than most faculty members here at UMBC. When I heard that Dr. Carpenter was being recognized by the UMBC alumni for our outstanding faculty member, I was happy that she was receiving the recognition for her actions almost a decade ago. My approach is a little bit different in this presentation. I'll give you more of a story. So in the spring of 2005, I enrolled in Chemistry 101 with Dr. Carpenter. I did not excel in her class. In fact, I failed. See, to this point, I had taken 19 courses here at UMBC, and I had failed 7 of them. I had yet to declare a major, and I was struggling. My collegiate career was in jeopardy. The next semester, I enrolled for a second time, thinking to myself that I knew this material, and I would do everything to succeed. Uneventfully, I managed to fail Chem 101 for a second time. I had a discussion with Dr. Carpenter at this juncture, and she informed me that I could only attempt this course for a third and final time due to university policies. We had sat down earlier in that semester to plan out a study plan, and I can remember to this day when she told me that I had to be my own advocate, and that sticks with me to this day. Let's fast forward into the semester, and here I was taking my last exam. I knew if I earned a B on the exam, that would mean that I would be able to advance to 102. I knew the material pretty well by this point, and I mean, it was only my third time taking the course. I had spent many days in office hours and study sessions showing my knowledge of the material to Dr. Carpenter and many other students. In fact, Dr. Carpenter was very confident in my knowledge of the material, and she encouraged me that she felt that I understood the concepts. It was the very next day that Dr. Carpenter informed me that I would not be passing Chem 101 for the third and final time. As disenchanted as I was about my future, Dr. Carpenter continued to encourage me. She told me that she was going to ask the dean to grant permission for an unprecedented 4th attempt on Chem 101. But this was under 2 conditions. One, she wanted me to go to student support services to be tested for test anxiety. And secondly, she wanted me to declare a major. All that time Dr. Carpenter had spent in her office hours, tutorial sessions, and exam reviews, she had noticed that I understood the concepts and I could solve the problems, but something obviously wasn't connecting during the exams. I had a difficult time recalling information and making informed decisions. I reluctantly agreed to the testing because there was no other option. After testing, it turned out that I did have test anxiety, and I spent on average 30 minutes panicking at the start of an exam. Student support services increased my exam times. And as for my major, well, I always wanted to be an engineer. And although I struggled on the exams, I'd grown extremely interested in chemistry. It's not surprising given Dr. Carpenter's contagious excitement for everything chemistry related. An example of this would be her involvement on Mold Day, which, by the way, is on the 23rd of this month. Write that down. Due to these factors, I declared my major in chemical engineering. Now, I know what you're thinking. If I couldn't pass Chem 101 in 3 attempts, what was I thinking about becoming a chemical engineer? Well, long story short, the next semester I passed Chem 101 with a B. In the following semester, Chem 102 with also a B. I graduated with my bachelor's in chemical engineering in the spring of 2012. And I can truly sit here today and say that I would not be where I am if it wasn't for Dr. Carpenter. She changed my life because she took the time to look at me as a person and not a number. The semester that Dr. Carpenter recognized my struggles was the semester she had just under 1,000 students. That makes me 0.1% of the students she had that semester. And the amazing part was that she would have given the same attention she gave me to the other 99.9% of her students. She is the epitome of the perfect educator, and I owe all my professional successes to her. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor and privilege to introduce to you Dr. Carpenter.
Wow.
I had prepared something, but it's just gone. I'm used to talking to 350 people at a time. I'm more nervous talking to like what the 50, 100 people that are here now. I do me. I love to teach. I love being at UMBC. It's been mentioned a couple times already, about the undergraduate education and where we rank. To me, it's just amazing to be a part of that every single day. The students here, they lift me up daily. They're so smart. The questions that they're asking, and everything that I do for my students. And Andy's right. I see hundreds of students per semester, and sometimes I'm moving forward, and I'm doing what I do for students, and I sometimes it's hard to believe that I could impact an individual to such an extent, because I do see so many students, and sometimes I sort of forget that that's even a possibility, that I can reach one person and have such an impact on their life, especially because I do teach the freshman introductory course, and so they take my course because they have to. No one's like lining up to take it for fun. And so, I just, figure that they're in there, and they go make it through, and then they go on, and they find their bigger and better things later, down the road. And so I thank you for reminding me that I have an impact, even though I'm seeing hundreds of faces at a time. It's a complete honor to be standing here, especially because this award comes from a student. The nomination comes from a student that I have impacted, and to me that's my job, is to impact students and help them move forward and go on and be the successful people that we that we've been talking about this evening. So I thank you. I'm so glad that we're friends. We're big rivals as well, that he didn't mention. And Andy, even after completing my course, he came back every semester to see me, to tell me how he was doing in his courses, and every step of the way. I was so excited, and I'm so proud of you for where you are in your life right now. It's absolutely amazing, and I'm honored to have been a part of that. So thank you again, and thank you to the Alumni Association for sponsoring this award to recognize faculty on this campus. It's really amazing. Thank you.
Before I go on to the next award, I just have to say that that is an amazing story, and really seems to be what education is and should be about. And I think a lot of us have those stories where we've been impacted by professors that have just done that extra mile, and it seems to happen a whole lot at UMBC. Our award for Outstanding Alumnus of the Year in Engineering and Information Technology is presented to Mr. Andre Gudger, who graduated in 1999 in Information Systems Management. He was nominated by Ellen Hemmerly, Executive Director of BW Tech at UMBC. Ms. Hemmerly will introduce Mr. Gudger.
I'm really delighted, I want to be able to see you, Andre. I'm really delighted to be introducing Andre tonight for the 2015 Outstanding Alumnus of the Year in Engineering and Information Technology. I've known Andre for more than a decade, and first met him when he located his company, Sovereign Innovations, at BW Tech, which is UMBC's Research and Technology Park. Andre was always an engaged member of our entrepreneurial community, hiring students and mentoring other entrepreneurs. Andre supported several minority-owned startup companies, enabling them to grow and be successful. And when we were talking earlier tonight, I think the actual number is around 10 or 11. He nurtured these companies and provided investment capital and space as needed, and made such a difference in so many people's lives. And on a personal note, I will always be very grateful to Andre, who mentored one of my sons, a young man of color who was trying to figure out what he wanted to do and is doing quite well in business now. And Andre, I thank you so much for that. Sovereign Innovations grew to be a successful company, being recognized as a Future 50 company by Smart CEO magazine in 2008. This recognition was based on the company's growth in revenues as well as staffing, and his company went to 1,300 employees in just 6 years. Solver, now known as Cyber Intelligence Group, was acquired at a strong valuation by Telecommunications Systems in 2009. In March of 2011, Andre was appointed Director of Small Business Programs for the Department of Defense. He is currently Acting Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Manufacturing and Industrial Base. The state of Maryland and the federal government, and of course UMBC, are very fortunate to have such an innovative and caring person as Andre, continuing his work of supporting small business and manufacturing. I, and I am sure many others, feel very enriched by my interactions with Andre over the years, so congratulations.
I want to be the first person to give a hug because I had to follow a very tough act right here. You almost had me in tears, and I don't shed them easy. When I first found out I was gonna, I got something from Umbc and found out it wasn't asking me for a donation. I was very excited. And so then I prepared my remarks as a keynote speaker, and then I found out I only had 1 minute to speak. And I learned something today from all the people that have gone before me, and in the words of the county exec here, the students are here because they don't want Dr. Hrabowski, students are not here because they don't want Dr. Hrabowski to ask them about their GPA. Everyone knows you. You remember their name and you remember their grades. So I remember those experiences seeing you and walking the other way. And you didn't notice, I've been in the campus several times with sunshades and a hat on. I walked past you. It's an absolute honor, and the things that UMBC, the tools that it's given to me, it's been absolutely fantastic. It was probably one of the single best decisions that I've made in my life, and certainly one of the best decisions I've made in my career. And I knew it was the right decision on one fall afternoon in my first year here at UMBC. It was this young lady walking next to me down in the middle of the quad. It used to be called the quad. I don't know if you call it that. I got all kind of stuff here. And so in the quad, wind is blowing, it's gusting, and her folder opens, all the papers blow all over the place. And if anybody is a struggling student, you remember the one time you dropped your notebook when you had everything organized and didn't know how to put it back together? Dr. Hrabowski was walking down the middle of the quad, which is unusual because I went to the University of North Carolina and before attending the UMBC, and I never saw the college president at the University of North Carolina. And yet, I was watching the president of such a great university, and at the time, emerging to be one of the leaders that we are today. And I said we, because I'm part of the university. I got to keep reminding him that. He bent down and helped her pick up every single one of those pieces of paper, and they have blue all over. I mean, it was like 50 yards of paper. And I knew it was the right decision from that day. So I used to go back and forth. I was very close to my grandfather. He's one of the people that talked me into coming to UMBC. He was very inspired. by the work that Dr. Hrabowski was doing here. And he remembered the days, he gave me the story about, being a few votes short of a truck stop. Many people don't remember that. And so a lot of great students were going out of state to other schools or choosing another school in the state because it was uncertain about the future. And yet you had this young, brilliant president leading the charge who was going to make a difference. And my grandfather, before he passed, he wanted me to say something to you. I've been afraid to say this for over 12 years. So I'm gonna try. So he said, "That man have you working so hard, he ought to give you 2 degrees." And you have worn off when everyone's, because the professor here has on a money tie, so I'm like really, you are contagious. I just want to wrap up and talk a little bit about my experiences. When I left UMBC, I was thirsty for what was next. And I got on Dr. Hrabowski's calendar. I didn't think he knew who I was, would even meet with me, but he did. He lit me on his calendar. And I got on his calendar as a young man, and I went to him and said, I don't know what to do with my life and career, but I know I want to be as successful as you, so talk to me about it. So he gave me bad advice, but he did say one good thing out of it. I'll take the advice here. But he did say one thing. He said, follow the money. And now I have my good government job, so I don't know if I follow the money. But,
He's giving us a really big check already, folks. Give him a hand for that.
So when I think about what that led for me, Ellen was right. Mentor a lot of companies, a lot of students. I hired the UMBC students when I left because they were just the best. It wasn't because I had affinity with the university or solely for that reason. The students were just the best students in the technology area. So we were known in 2006, 7, 8, 9. We were one of the top 100 fastest growing companies in the country at the time, and the company was doing fantastic work. And that led into me meeting the now sitting President Obama, and he asked me to join him in the administration, which is the jobs that I've had now as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense and as the Director of Small Business and Defense, and leading a host of other initiatives in the White House, whether it's Trans-Pacific Partnership, all you see that in the news, Innovative Manufacturing Institutes, which when the President in the State of the Union address in 2011 said we're going to restore American manufacturing, I awarded 6 out of the 8 innovative institutes in the country that are truly regaining America's competitive edge in key technology areas. I hired a former UMBC student who's leading the Small Business Innovation Research, which is a $2 billion program a year. It's a former UMBC student leading that. So when you think about the impact that UMBC is making in the country and within the entrepreneurs, the STEM-oriented entrepreneurs in this country, is absolutely fantastic. The numbers and the achievements that Dr. Hrabowski mentioned earlier about the university, it's in the U.S. News, it's only a small sliver of the story to be told for the impact and the ecosystem that UMBC has developed. So with that being said, I want to thank you, President. It feels good to call somebody, say President, in one day and to be 2 different people. Mr. President. I'd like to thank Greg Simmons and Dr. Hrabowski mad at me, but most importantly, I thank you, Ellen, for nominating me and not forgetting about all the great work we did to build that research park to be one of the top research parks, having other universities, incubators around the country coming here figuring out how did UMBC do it and can we mimic it. That was something that I'm proud to be a part of and would continue to be a part of and support the university. Thank you all, and thank you for being here tonight.
Our next 3 awards will be made to recipients who are unable to attend this evening. The award that we are giving next is to Dr. Yoon Ho Kim. Dr. Kim received his PhD in Applied Physics from UMBC in 2001. and he is this year's outstanding alumnus in the natural and mathematical sciences. Dr. Kim is a full professor in the physics department at the Pohang University of Science and Technology, one of the most prestigious universities in South Korea, and therefore he was not able to make it here tonight. Dr. Kim was nominated for this award by Dr. Todd Pittman, who will be accepting on his behalf.
I'm very happy to be here and to introduce Yoon-Ho Kim. As was mentioned, he got his PhD in the physics department here, and he's moved on back to his native Korea, where he's a full professor at sort of the top science and technology university in Korea. Along the way, he's won numerous academic awards, he's published tons and tons of papers, and he's really just established himself as a true superstar in his research field. So tonight we're honoring him for his contributions to science and technology and for the generation of new knowledge that's come from his research efforts. Indeed, the new discoveries he and his team are making today are the things that are going to be in the textbooks of tomorrow that our children and grandchildren will use. Yoon-Ho's physics research, it's not the usual blocks and pulleys or apple falling from a tree kind of stuff that many of you might remember from Physics 101. Rather, he is developing cutting-edge nanotechnology tools and using them to study the behavior of the tiniest unexplored systems in the universe. Things like atoms, electrons, photons, and other subatomic particles. His area of research is broadly known as quantum physics, and Yoon-Ho's emphasis is on using these tiny quantum systems not for new energy sources or anything like that, but as information processors. And the holy grail of his work is to build something called a quantum computer that's expected to be able to solve some of the hardest problems known to mankind right now. So this is serious cutting-edge research. Yoon-Ho is exactly the kind of guy that could take on that challenge. Even as a young PhD student here, he was a bold visionary that was not afraid to tackle these kind of new and unusual types of things. As an example, his PhD dissertation was on something called quantum teleportation. And if that sounds a little bit like Star Trek to you, you're not that far from understanding what it really is. So this is very interesting cutting-edge research, and Yoon-Ho has done very well with it. His PhD work alone has now been cited over 500 times in the academic literature, and that's something like winning a platinum album. You know, it's analogous to that in the sort of the nerdy world of physics. So we're very proud of Yoon-Ho for his work. Today, based on the foundation of excellent graduate education and mentoring he got here at UMBC, Yoon-Ho and his team continue taking these kinds of bold steps in new directions while contributing much to our ever-evolving understanding of nature and how the world really works. The College of Natural and Mathematical Sciences as a whole, and the physics department in particular, is very proud of Dr. Yoon-Ho Kim and his outstanding contributions to science. And just briefly, I'd like to take a minute to read some remarks that Yoon-Ho was able to send in accepting this award. First, let me apologize for not being there to attend the ceremony. As I presently live in Korea, the trip would have taken a week from my job and my family, so I ask for your understanding. I am really honored for the Alumni Award. At UMBC, I was given an opportunity to learn how to do research. That's important. And I'm really thankful to the physics department for giving me a TA so that I could attend the graduate school. I'm also thankful to my good teachers, Professor Yanhua Shi and Professor Mort Rubin, who taught me how to do research and supported me through my graduate studies. Even now, I try to maintain the same enthusiasm and scientific rigor in my lab as I learned at UMBC. I guess one way to give back to UMBC is to do a good job at what I'm doing now. I hope that in the coming years, I can continue to update you with new scientific breakthroughs and discoveries. Again, thank you very much for this award.
Our next award is given to Mr. Brian Kelly, a 1992 graduate in economics. This year's outstanding alumnus in social sciences. Mr. Kelly is unable to attend this evening, but has sent a video of his acceptance of this award. Mr. Kelly was nominated by Greg Simmons, Vice President of Institutional Advancement, who will introduce Mr. Kelly.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. So, terrific to see everybody here. Congratulations to all the winners and their families and their nominators. You know, Brian's bio is in the brochure. It's a great story. You know, really, when you think 1992 graduate who really met his wife here, went back to his hometown, and started the kind of business that he always wanted to have. He describes what he wanted to do as being a kind of Norman Rockwell-like town doctor for finance. And if you go and visit him in his office, that's really what it is. It's a person who has restored a series of old historic buildings in his hometown, who literally always leaves a light on. He's caring deeply about his individual clients and their families and the community that he lives within. His kids and his wife are with him in the community. He's played a leadership role in just about everything he's done, from finance to Howard Community College to even UMBC, when he helped us found an economics advisory board that for many years helped think about how we provide the kinds of internships and experiences that will help our students be successful. The thing that I think is most profound about Brian, like many of the winners tonight, are the things that aren't in the bio, the things that you don't see and that you don't hear about. Two that come immediately to mind. The first is getting that call from Brian a couple years ago where he said, you know, listen, a guy I went to school with, he died 10 years ago, tragically before his time, and his son wants to come to UMBC. He can't afford it. I'm going to be sending some money every year. I don't want him to know. Just help him. Just help him get there and help him get through. That's the kind of guy Brian Kelly is. And then, you know, when you think about you know, the kind of guy he is, he's the first alum who called me when I got this job. He said, come up and talk to me. I want to get to know you a little bit. And he talked to me about Sheldon Kaplis, my predecessor, who many of you know, and who talked to him about, who made his first gift through Sheldon. And we had a great talk, and we talked about, yes, about my family, my work, how long I've been here. And at the end, he stood up, shook his hand, and said, you know, look forward to working with you. He said, don't forget the awesome responsibility you have. This campus is growing. It's making a name for itself in a way that nobody expected. It's an awesome responsibility. Protect the place and look out for the interests of its graduates and faculty. That's the Brian Kelly who I nominated for this award. He's so sorry he couldn't be here tonight. So congratulations to Brian and congratulations to all the winners tonight.
Good evening, everyone.